Hillside Community Church has helped many people become committed followers of Christ. But a plan without a strategy is not good. So we have a very simple strategy. The strategy is connect, grow, serve, and go. Connect to the local church for practical Bible teaching. We grow better together, so we encourage you to get in a small group. Serve means to use the shape that God has given you to serve others. And go means to go outside these walls and be a missionary wherever God sends you. And primarily, we encourage you to reach out to your friends, relatives, associates, and neighbors, invest in their lives, and invite them to church so they can have an opportunity to learn about the Lord as well. Today's message is basically looking forward into the new year with what our vision is for the future. So Pastor Shook has shared his vision in Bellwood this morning. Randy Zerbar sharing his vision for Taiwan Church in Taiwan. We're sharing the vision here today for Hillside Juniata. We're going to be in Ephesians chapter 3. Would be page 1158 if you want to use one of the Bibles in front of you. And on the back of your bulletin, you have an outline. I encourage you to take some additional notes. I have a picture here. A man named Dave Phillips, who began Children's Hunger Fund. It was a clip out of the book Forgotten God by Francis Chan. Years ago, Dave and his wife, Lynn, had to talk about the callings they felt God was putting on their lives. As they discussed it, they became more and more passionate about what God wanted them to do. Dave was afraid, though, if they started an organization, he would have to get up in front of people and speak. And so he said, I just cannot do that, so I don't know if we want to start an organization or not. But finally, God convinced them that they should go ahead and start Children's Hunger Fund. They began it in their garage. He set aside his fears, and they started Children's Hunger Fund out of their garage in 1992, January 1992. He received a phone call a few weeks later from the director of a cancer treatment center, surprisingly, in Honduras, asking if there was any way he could obtain a certain drug for 7 children who would die without that drug if they didn't get it. They said, I have no idea about that drug. I don't know how to get it, but they prayed over the phone. He said, I'll see what I can do. When he went to hang up the phone, before he even got the phone completely hung up, it rang again. On it was a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey asking Dave if he could use 48,000 vials of that specific drug. Not only did they offer him $8 million worth of drugs, but they also told him they would airlift it to any place in the world. Dave would later learn that the company was one of the only 2 that manufactured that drug in the United States. In 48 hours, they had the drug sent to the treatment center in Honduras and to 20 other locations as well. It was then he believed that God was firmly at work in this ministry. Year after year, from 1992 to 2009, God has provided supernaturally. By 2009, they had distributed more than $950 million in food and other relief to more than 10 million kids in 70 countries and 32 states. They distributed more than 150 million pounds of food and 110 million toys. God did immeasurably more than this couple even dreamed God could do. And that's what I want to look at today, based on Ephesians chapter 3. The book of Ephesians is written by Paul to the church in Ephesus. He started in Acts chapter 19, his 3rd missionary journey. They're mostly Gentiles. In the first 3 chapters, he explained to them what was called a mystery. The mystery was that a Jew and a Gentile would all be one in Christ in this whole new body. And then in chapters 4, 5, and 6, he tells them how to live out the life that they have. Next week's message is basically entitled Blessed. Because in chapter 1, he's going to explain all the spiritual blessings in Christ. In chapter 4, 5, and 6, he's going to say, now you need to walk in line with the spiritual wealth that God has given to you. He ends chapter 3 with basically a doxology. So in chapter 3, verse 14 is where I want to pick it up. He says this, for this reason, since God has blessed you and brought you into this body called the church, I kneel before the Father, and from whom his whole family in heaven and earth derives its name. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the saints, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ. And to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. And then he concludes verses 20 and 21, we want to emphasize, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. First principle, God is able to do immeasurably more. God is able to do immeasurably. Literally, here's what it says in the Greek. To the one being able beyond all things to do super abundantly of which we ask or think. God is able to do immeasurably more than we ask, more than we can imagine, vastly more. I don't know if you've heard about what God is doing around the world in different places, but in Operation World, there's two countries that have been amazing, where God has definitely done amazingly more than people could ask or think. You know our ministry in Honduras and Central America, well, Latin America, Central America, and South America. In 1900, the number of evangelicals in Latin America was about 700,000 people. That's only 1% of all the people who live in Central and South America. By 2010, it went from 700,000 to 91 million evangelicals in Central America and South America. Most of the growth was fueled by the steady, faithful proclamation and witness of tens of thousands of laymen and pastors planting small churches out of a passion for the gospel. The New World is now home to over 35% of the world's evangelical believers, committed followers of Christ. God did amazingly more than most people ever believed would take place in Latin America. China is another place. In 1975, there were 2.7 million evangelicals in 1975, and that by 2010 is now 75 million evangelical believers in China since 1975. And this was a persecuted church. This was not a place where missionaries were welcomed in. God worked. After the missionaries were kicked out, God began to work from the seed that they had planted there in China. Why am I saying that? Because God is able to do super abundantly, amazingly, immeasurably more than what you and I can even begin to ask for or even imagine. Now, I'm going to apply that to Hillside Community Church in Juniata, but the truth is it also applies to your lives and the people in your sphere of influence that you care about. Very simple principle, verse 20. God provides the power. God provides the power. Notice the one who is able, according to the power operating within us. Verse 20 says it this way. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. God provides the power. When Paul writes his letter to 1 Corinthians, he had been there, church was started, he reflects back on his past, and he reminds them that when he came there, we don't think this about Paul because we think he was this driven doer. But in chapter 2 of 1 Corinthians, it says, when I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and much trembling. My message, it says, and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power. Why? So that your faith might not rest on men's wisdom, but on God's power. Paul said, what God did in your church wasn't through my eloquence, wasn't through my ability, it was through God's power. In 2 Corinthians, he writes to the believers there, and he explains to them that God has given them this ministry. And then he says in chapter 4, verse 7, we have this ministry in earthen vessels. In other words, he compares the human body to this fragile, breakable vessel. And then he goes on to say, so that when God works, he's the one who gets the credit, because it's obvious that God has the power. You and I are just earthen vessels. The power comes from God. God provides the power. Jesus' disciples, when he was crucified, they all ran ahead, except Peter. He hung around a little bit, and then he denied the Lord. Yet after the resurrection, he says to them, when I leave, Acts chapter 1, verse 8, you will be my witnesses. Why? Because the Spirit will come upon you in power. And in Acts chapter 2, Peter, who denied the Lord 3 times, stood up and preached powerfully. 3,000 people accepted Christ that day. Because God provides the power. God can, with his power, can do immeasurably more than you can ever even begin to ask or imagine. He can do it in your life. He can do it in the lives of people you care about. Let me illustrate it with Hillside Community Church. We came to Hillside Community Church in December 1991. There were 82 people at the time. We'd been missionaries for 16 years in Western Canada. We felt God was leading us to something different. We came back. We got back on a Thursday night. The next day, someone called me and said, "Would you come down and preach at Hillside Community Church in Bellwood?" I said, "Sure." And I looked in the bulletin. They had my name in there as a candidate. I said, "What?" And when we drove home that day, I said to Joey, I don't think that's a place for us because they are really, really conservative. And but then we kept going back for the next couple of months. And they asked me to come. When I started, a bunch of people from the 82 left because I don't think they liked me. People usually vote with their feet, and so we began to shrink a little bit. But we just kept praying. The first few years were difficult. Hillside, it was Olivet Baptist Church at that time. We were classified as what is called a turn-around church. Most guys coming out of seminary would much rather start a new church and try to turn around a church that's traditional, because most guys who try that usually die during the period because it kills them. And there were times in the early years where I thought, man, what did I get myself into? But we hung in there. God provided the power. So church began to grow. I think in 1998 we decided to go to 2 services. And then from there, I think it was 2012, I believe it was, I got a call from a man who was part of this church, Community Bible Church. And they said, "Would you be interested in our building for $1?" I said, $1. Okay, I came up and looked at the building. I said, "Does the parsonage come with it?" And they said, "Well, we're not sure." I said, "Well, if we're going to pay you a whole $1, we want the parsonage too." And so when the lawyer looked at it, the lawyer said, "They got to go together. You can't separate the two." So they said, "Okay, you can have it for $1." So God opened that door in 2012. So we went from one campus in Bellwood to a second campus in Juniata. A couple years later, we had a bunch of people coming to Bellwood from Tyrone. So we said, "Hey, God opened the door in Juniata, maybe he'll open a door in Tyrone." So we started at what was called the Dance Fusion in Tyrone. This is not it. It was really a different building. It had one room with mirrors all across the back wall and one other room for the kids. So when you're preaching, you can see yourself in the mirrors in the back. It's really strange. You got to set up and tear down every time. But then this church opened up to rent. And we've been at this part by Max Meat Market in the other part of Tyrone. They have 2 services going in Tyrone now. God has blessed that ministry. My point is very simply this. Look at the next slide. That's not Tyrone. That's a place called La Venta del Sur, Honduras. And I believe it was 2012 that Mari came to us and said, "Would you be willing to go to Honduras and to my village where I grew up and build a church there?" So a couple of small groups decided. 19 people went that first year. And we went there and we started working on the church. Partway during the week they had this impromptu business meeting. Obviously my Spanish wasn't that good. I didn't know what they were talking about. And they sat down and they voted to become Hillside La Venta del Sur. They became part of us. They didn't ask, they just voted themselves in. Since that time, we had a second church. If you do Shoebox Kids, you have anybody in El Capoline, this is the church in El Capoline. This is a 2-hour walk from the first church you saw to here. When we helped build this church, they brought the block in and sand in on horses because they had no way to get that close with a vehicle. And little kids carried stones up and down the hill. Beautiful. If you put yourself there right now, you see a beautiful view out to the side. Again, they became El Capoline, Hillside El Capoline. Point is this. God provides the power. When we started in 1991, we never envisioned Juniata, we never envisioned Tyrone, we never envisioned Honduras. Who knows what God already has down the road? The principle is very simple. God can do immeasurably more than you and I can even ask or think. Most of the time, the problem's with us. We don't really have faith to trust God for that. Second principle, we provide the effort. We provide the effort. Notice the next verse. And Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine according to His power, that is what? At work within us. God doesn't work without working through people. He's always worked through human beings throughout church history. When He wanted to save the world with a flood, what did He do? He called a man named Noah and He said, Noah, everybody's evil in the world, you're a righteous man, I want to save the world, but you're going to start building a boat. And he had to put in a lot of effort over a long period of time to build the boat. It was a huge boat. God provides the power, but you and I have to put in the effort for that to take place. God said to Moses, I want you to get out of Egypt, lead my children out of Egypt. Moses said, can't you find someone else? No, you're the one. Oh, well, what if they don't believe you? No, you're the one. No. Finally, he went. When he got to the Red Sea, what happened? God provided the power, and Moses had to provide the effort. God's always worked through human beings. His power works through human beings to accomplish His goals. Elijah and his face-off in 1 Kings chapter 18 with the prophets of Baal. They set up their altar, they put the sacrifice on the altar, and the prophets of Baal slashed themselves and jumped around and danced and tried to bring down power. Nothing happened. Elisha prays and God brings down fire after he soaked it with water. God provided the power, but Elijah provided the effort. 12 disciples. 12 disciples. None of us probably would have picked. God provided the power through those disciples. But they had to provide the effort. That's the way God works. David Lynn Phillips. God provided the power for David Lynn Phillips to go to that ministry, but God's the one. But they're the ones who provided the effort. Again, what are we? We are simply jars of clay. I think sometimes our biggest problem is the same problem the disciples had when on the boat with Jesus when the storm came up. They panicked. What did Jesus say to them? Oh, you of little faith. We provide the effort, and we've got to provide the faith to believe that God can do immeasurably more than we can even ask or think or imagine. God provides the power, we provide the effort. Imagine what God can do in your life and the lives of people you care about. Imagine. Imagine what God can do here at Hillside Community Church in Juniata. Joey and I found a free channel a while back on our Roku, and it had a TV program called Hometown. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Hometown. It's about a couple named Ben and Aaron Napier who redo houses in Laurel, Mississippi. Their idea is to save their town by people coming in. They buy an old beat-up house. One we saw recently, they paid $36,000 for the house. The all-in budget was $85,000, and they were going to fix it up and move in. And so when they take them into the house, they walk through and they look at these ugly walls and they look at the stuff falling down. And she always says this to them. She says, I want you to focus not on what you see, but on what it could be. Not on what you can see, but what it could be. In other words, try to not look at what you see right here. Try to imagine what it could be. And Paul says to the Ephesians, God is able to do more. Imagine what God could do in your life and the lives of people you care about, and in this church and through this church, impact people's lives in Juniata. Imagine. William Carey said this in one of his messages. William Carey, go ahead and put it up. William Carey was the father of modern missions. He went from Great Britain to India. God used him powerfully in India. When he went back to England to challenge people, he said, you need to expect great things from God and attempt great things for God. God provides the power. You and I provide the effort. Expect great things from God. Attempt great things for God. I put it on a magnet. I hope that what you learned from today's lesson, you never, ever forget. God's able to do immeasurably more, way more, far more than we can ever imagine. So So here's our goal. Our goal for the Hillside Juniata is to double this year. Double in attendance. Double in regular attendance. Our average this past year was 47 people. Our goal this next year is 94 people. We've never grown by that much in any of our campuses before. But the more I thought about it, prayed about it, I felt, well, why, if I'm going to preach a message, God can do immeasurably more, why would I settle for 10% or 20%? Why not trust God for 100%? When you stop and think about it, it's really not all that difficult. If we boil it down, if every person who attends brought one other person in this year, you double. I mean, math wasn't my greatest subject, but I could figure that part out. We want to see more people accept Christ as a personal Savior. We want to see more people being publicly baptized, admitting that they're committed to Christ. We want to see more people practicing the habits. We want to see more people involved in small groups. Pastor Ashley shared his goals at Bellwood this morning. They want to see growth, more small groups, mentoring, want to develop more leaders, and a long-term goal is to plant more churches. I believe God wants us to branch out and see more churches planted. The best way to reach more people for Christ is to plant new churches in areas. Many churches, 85% of the churches in North America plateaued or in decline. We're to see more people reach than ever. And God is able to do immeasurably more. He provides the power. We provide the effort. And when we do that, verse 21 says, He gets the glory. That's where it goes. To Him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. He gets the glory. He gets the credit. Our part, very simply, is this. How can you be involved? Number one, pray. P stands for pray. What I've done is I've put some brochures in both the foyer and the coffee area for you to sign up to be a Juniata Church prayer partner. Every month you'll get 2 or 3 requests specifically tied in with our goal for this year to pray for. If you're willing to do that, pick up a brochure. I already printed out for this month the prayer requests. If you want to get them by email or text, you can get them that way, or you can get them on hard copy. I'm asking people to sign up to pray. One of our core values is very simply this: when we work, we work. When we pray, God works. So when we work and pray, God can really work. I believe God works when we pray. I firmly believe that. And the more people who pray, the more we can see God do. The I stands for invite. The I stands for invite. Everybody here has friends, relatives, associates, and neighbors who do not know Christ yet. We encourage you to invest in their lives, intercede for them, invest in their lives, and invite them to church. We try to provide an environment where you can invite somebody and not be embarrassed. We don't hassle people for money. We don't put people on the spot. We try to create an atmosphere. We have nice snacks and coffee. And we try to be friendly to people. Your part is to invest and invite. And people don't always come. I mean, I've been working on some family members, and they haven't shown up yet, but I'm going to hang in there and keep praying and investing in inviting. That's part of the task. Pray, invite, and third, the E stands for expect. Expect God to work. Expect God to work. What does that spell? Pie. So at the end of the year, when we hit our goal, we're going to have a pie party. I feel to get your attention. Some of you wondering what this was doing up here. Chuck Swindoll, one of his books, tells the story of a family in Texas, a little boy, it was a poor family. His birthday was coming up. They asked him what he wanted for his birthday. He said he wanted a shirt. But they said, well, we can't really afford a shirt, but we'll pray about it. So they began to pray. About 4 days before his birthday, a clothing store in town gave him a call. I don't know how they found out what was going on. They say, we have some shirts. She said, well, what size are the shirts? They told the size of the shirt. So that was exactly his size. But he hoped for one shirt. Most parents would probably just take the shirts, stuck them in their door, and said, "Hey, they got some shirts." But what he decided to do was use his other siblings to bring the shirts in on his birthday. Then they bought him the first shirt. He was excited. "Well, yeah, I got a shirt for my birthday." Then his sister came in. She bought second shirt. Brother came in, third shirt. Sister came back, fourth shirt. Again, brother came back, fifth shirt. Sister came back, sixth shirt. Seventh shirt. Shirt number 8. Well, this time, it was blowing his mind. He thought he'd be lucky to get one shirt. 8 shirts. Number 9. You learned a lesson that day that I hope you learn today and never forget. God is able to do immeasurably more than you and I could ever think or even imagine. He provides the power, you and I provide the effort. We are the channels he wants to work through. Imagine. Let's pray. Father, you know the folks in this room, you know the burdens, you know their hearts, you know what people in their lives they care about, you know the people in their lives they would love to imagine your powerful work. And I pray that they would pray. And I pray corporately as a church that we would pray. We would invest and invite. We would see you do immeasurably more than we could even think or imagine. We pray you would do it in this year. We ask this in Jesus' name.